Thank you so much for coming to the Executive Officer Training Conference. We are so happy to have you here. That said, the material we will be going over is only beneficial to your clubs if you use it effectively. Please take notes, ask questions, and process the information. So a little bit about me. My name is Isabella Baldisseri. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so honored to serve as your 2024-2025 district governor. My duty is to oversee the function of both the district board and our district in its entirety. My executive team and I are so excited to prepare you for the service year ahead and equip you with the necessary tools you need to succeed. Now, allow me to introduce my secretary and friend, May Ramick.
Hello, PNW. My name is May Ramick. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as a district secretary. As your district secretary, my role is to strengthen communication between clubs, divisions, and the district by utilizing Google Groups. I establish monthly communications with club secretaries, may it be through the secretary reports, emails, and club updates. Additionally, I track the club's progress through the secretary reports you guys send each month, while also statistically tracking the district project. Lastly, I serve as the executive liaison on the MGRC committee. I will now pass it off to our district treasurer and our professional yapper, Jeffrey Basilio.
I think you might be muted, Jeffrey.
OMG, that is embarrassing. I was muted. Anyways, yes, professional yapper. Hi everyone. Apparently not for those 5 seconds, but hi everyone. My name is Jeffrey Basilio. I use he, him pronouns, and I serve as the district treasurer. As district treasurer, I primarily ensure that dues collection runs smoothly in the fall. This includes contacting clubs who have not paid their dues, as well as providing resources and assistance when needed. To add on to dues, I am also the committee chair of the PNWAF committee, which you will learn a little bit about later. And other than that, I also handle LTG reimbursements and create/maintain treasurer resources. Since our district treasurer, Tessa Hill, is currently not with us at the moment, I will go ahead and introduce her for you all. This is Tessa Hill. She uses she, her pronouns, and she serves as the district editor. Her primary duty is to make sure that the district is informed about district-wide updates as well as manage the PNW Key Club social media accounts. She is also responsible for creating publications such as The Espresso and create social media posts and content for various district committees. Lastly, Tessa serves as a liaison to both the Kiwanis Family Relations Committee and the Webmaster Chair. Now that we have all introduced ourselves, we will go into the primary officer training. Here's a quick agenda of what we will be covering today. We will start with the district governor, Isabella, who will be presenting the president/VP training slides.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for that wonderful introduction. Presidents and vice presidents, I'm so excited to train you. Please, again, I want to reiterate, take notes and be engaged with this curriculum. It will serve you later on. So, presidents, your job is to, 1, provide supportive leadership, establish a climate of enthusiasm, openness, and concern. Follow up, congratulate, and listen. Make it apparent that you are concerned and accessible. Seek input and explore alternatives before making important decisions. You want those who you serve and who look up to you to feel both respected and heard and seen. And a lot of that comes from being accessible to them and also being concerned and keeping them accountable. Secondly, you should preside over meetings with members' input, create and abide by an agenda for your weekly meetings. The most important part of that is the members' input, meaning you should always be looking for feedback. Feedback will be one of your greatest assets. Arrange and conduct a board of directors meeting monthly. In other words, this is your secretary, your treasurer, and your editor, webmaster, and meet with them pretty consistently in order to plan your meetings. Make certain that each club and board meeting is well planned and organized, flows smoothly, ends on time, and that each member has fun. In other words, switch it up here and there, play music or do something fun. Make sure to incorporate bonding activities, make it really, really fun for your members. And then conduct and preside over regular Key Club meetings, making certain that Vice President is prepared to preside in your absence. Additionally, you should also manage elections in communication with your lieutenant governor, who will support you with this. At the start of the year, schedule a date in February for elections to elect your incoming officers. And then plan strategy and set goals. Goals are so important, and that starts right now. Keep in mind that ongoing evaluation of club meetings and operations leads to continuous improvement in the club. Goals must be clear and attainable. In the end, your satisfaction will come from the knowledge that the club was active on all fronts and clearly improved during the year. Some of us might be familiar with SMART goals. I know in my school, my home school, we learn all about SMART goals. So please keep those in mind as well. And there are other structures you can use to set goals for yourself and for your club, all accessible online. If you have more questions about that, feel free to email me at governor@pnwkeyclub.com. Continuously or .org, sorry. And then continuously monitor the club's progress towards accomplishing goals and ensuring responsibilities of all officers and appointees are fulfilled. And then you should also select committee chairpersons and make special appointments if applicable. If you're a president or vice president of a smaller club, this might not be applicable to you. We generally see this with larger clubs, but usually they define the specific role and responsibilities of each appointee. They appoint the chairs, appoint committee members, usually through an application process. The district does something similar using Google Forms. And then you work with the committee chairpersons and the proposed projects for each upcoming month. You can attend the committee meetings, and as a member of all of the committees, you can attend as many committee meetings as possible, but let the chairperson run the meetings, as this is their committee and they should see out the initiatives. You're also responsible for attending PCMs. This should be in communication with your lieutenant governor, who sets the dates and the times for these monthly PCMs. And you make executive decisions. These can be harder decisions. Your decisions won't always be favored, but you have to be prepared to make executive decisions in your position. Now, vice presidents, your job is to fill in when the president is absent, assist other officers, take the initiative to help without being asked, educate club members on Key Club 101, some of which you'll hear later on today, and then go the extra step to recruit and retain members. And if your club has any committees, you should oversee them as well. Overall, help out the president and make sure that you make yourself accessible to everyone you serve as well. Planning meetings is a huge part of your responsibilities. The basics of planning meetings include plan your meetings with all of your officers. I've said this before, but I will continue to say it. Feedback is so important and will help guide you throughout the year, including when you're planning meetings. Delegate tasks to each officer, excuse me. That's going to really help you out. This is not a one-man job. If you're president or vice president, you should be delegating a lot because you don't want to take on everything yourself. It's just not efficient that way. Keep your meetings regular, should be consistent, set a date and a time, and keep it no matter what. People won't always be able to make them, but as long as you're consistent, people will show up. And then change up your meeting styles. I talked a little bit about this, but just to reiterate, playing music, making it fun, doing bonding activities, going to a bowling alley. I mean, plan those out and make it fun for members, and they'll keep showing up, as well as invite their friends to show up, which improves your membership. And then you should also prepare. You should prepare 3 to 5 days ahead, if not more. Create an agenda, which you should give to members if usually about a week in advance or a couple days prior to the meeting, and then create a slideshow, assign roles to the officers for the meetings. One thing I want to add to the creating a slideshow and preparing 3 to 5 days ahead, please do your faculty advisor a big favor and keep them in the loop. Have them go over your slideshow or have your vice president go over the slideshow. Make sure all the grammar is right and everything looks professional. And then after the meeting, make sure to send out the PowerPoint or the Google slideshow to the members. We will be doing the same with these slideshows or the slideshow. And now I'm going to transition into some quarterly responsibilities. These slides in particular, I want to make sure you guys are taking notes on, and then we're going to have some time for questions at the end. So during summer, which is right now, you should meet with the incoming officers, outgoing officers, faculty, and Kiwanis advisors to make plans and organize the upcoming year. Please take advantage of the summertime. I know for me, I have about a month left of summer. For most of you, it's probably similar. So really, the time is coming. The clock is ticking. So please take advantage of the time to meet with all these people you're going to be working with and really set your goals and get feedback and advice. Plan to attend Key Club International Convention. Two delegates from your club should be in attendance. We just had an international convention in Atlanta, Georgia in July. It's a really fun time, so please plan for that as well. And then plans
It's fine.
Plan summer functions. This is a great time for service projects and club bonding. Again, summertime is great. No one has school, so many people have extra free time to do service projects together or some more club bonding activities. Keep club members active during the summer by holding meetings and doing projects. Review your club's membership. This is huge. If one of your goals, which for all of you it should be, is to increase membership, you have to review that membership count now and make attainable goals for each quarter of the year that are going to guide you. And then promote Key Club days to members. Depending on your location, you're probably either assigned to Key Club Day North or Key Club Day South. Again, if you are curious about that, reach out to your Lieutenant Governor. They're going to have information for you about that, but registration is open. And I really would love to meet you all in person at either Key Club Day North or Key Club Day South. And then meet with your fellow officers and directors to finalize plans for membership development. We've talked a little bit about this, but again, I just want to reiterate, membership is a really huge thing, and it can look really good for your club if you as president or as vice president can increase that over a year. And that all comes with goal setting and starting it this summer. Review your club's calendar for the year and adjust goals as necessary, and prepare for a booth at freshman orientation. It's good to get those underclassmen involved. Okay, now moving into the fall, hold your first meeting right after school starts with new members. Start club activities and service projects. Really get it going in fall as soon as you can. Begin collecting dues from each member to meet the early bird deadline this year. And Jeffrey will talk a little bit about this after International Convention. Our dues in its entirety will be $15.50. And then elect directors for each class. I know in my home key club, I was a class director. It might sound like it's not necessary, but it was really a fun time, and it makes some members feel more connected to your officer board, and it helps them recruit members from their class. So it's just something to really look into. And then share the back to school mailing with your club and plan a Key Club Week event. Again, if you want more information about that, we're going to be going over it in Key Club 101, but always feel free to check out our website and our Instagram at PNW Key Club. And now we're going to go over winter. So during the winter, you should plan a club, social, or service project during the holiday season. I don't know about you, but personally, I love holiday season service projects. I think they're the most fun and engaging, and it's a great opportunity to bring everyone together for the holidays and really make an impact. I know some people do things with hot meals during the winter or Thanksgiving season, or toy drives are another great one. We have Love Santa here in Woodburn, Oregon, so that's what we call it, but it's a toy drive. So please look into that. If you have questions, please reach out. But a lot of clubs do holiday season club social or service projects, and I think it's a great thing. Initiate creative fundraisers for the club or for district convention, again, tying it into the holiday season. It's also a great season for fundraisers. Start planning for your club's attendance at district convention. This year, district convention will be in Seattle, Washington from March 28th through 30th. Our convention committee chair, Thomas Wakefield, is actually online here if you want to give a wave, Thomas. He is.
Hi, guys.
Yes, that's Thomas. And he's in charge of that. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to him or me. It's going to be a great time. Seattle's beautiful, and I really, really want to meet you all at district convention this year. And then be sure new member dues have been submitted to district and international. Encourage club members to start thinking about a club or district office for next year. Again, those underclassmen will prove to be really great assets because they will most likely become your incoming officer after you've fulfilled your term. And then each club member is to start thinking, participate in your lieutenant governor's election rally. Be sure your club is well represented. As a past lieutenant governor myself, this is huge. They'll communicate with you so many times about their date and time. So please make sure to be on top of that and make sure you're well represented at the lieutenant governor's election rally. And then hold club election for new officers. Register your club for district convention, submit district convention contests and award entries, and start training process for your new club officers. And lastly, encourage qualified members of your club to seek district executive officer positions like mine or Jeffrey's or May's or Tessa's. So what are presidential council meetings or PCMs? I've talked a little bit about them, or at least I've mentioned PCM. That's the term you'll most likely hear the most. Our lieutenant governors, our district board are well versed in this, but again, they create the date and the time, and you are required to attend those PCMs on a monthly basis. These meetings are designed so that club presidents can share ideas with each other, receive updates from the district, and ask questions. Please, please, please take advantage of these opportunities. They are an amazing resource for you to hear about other clubs near your own club, to gather feedback, again, gather ideas, and overall update other presidents and your lieutenant governor on the status of your club. If you're not a president, or perhaps you're a vice president, at least one officer from each club should be present at a PCM each month. If the president is not available, ask another officer to attend. If another officer wants to attend PCMs, they are absolutely allowed to. These are not closed meetings, they're not exclusive. So we want to see everyone represented if they can or if they want to be. So then PCMs are also critical to the success and development of clubs and divisions throughout the district. They make it easier for everyone to do their jobs and for you to grow your club. Please make time to attend them each month. And I'm going to reiterate this one more time. Your lieutenant governor should already have a date and a time set for PCMs, and they will communicate that to you if they haven't already, which they probably have. Tips for success. Keep service options diverse and well-rounded. Don't do the same school cleanup every single week or every single 2 weeks. It gets pretty redundant, and we want to make sure that you're keeping members engaged. So do something new, do something that's a little bit scary, but I have confidence that you can plan it and execute it well. And then start a regular service project within the first month. Again, you want to get started as early as possible in the fall, get things rolling. It's going to look really good for you as a president who takes the initiative and gets started and takes action and making an impact in your community. Think about how you can plan service projects and fundraisers to support our district project, the SEED Initiative Ending Youth Houselessness. We're going to go into more about the SEED Initiative Ending Youth Houselessness during our Key Club 101 and general officer information. So please stay tuned for that. And then partner with elementary and middle schools. We have Builders Club, and K Kids for you to partner with if they're near you. And again, we're going to go over this during our Key Club 101 and general officer information. Reach out to different organizations and programs and schedule service projects on a regular basis. Some more tips and tricks. Make sure your advisor is aware of everything. I cannot emphasize this enough as someone from my home club who really struggled with making sure that everyone felt in the loop. The faculty advisors are usually the ones who feel most either excluded or they have too much on their plate. In a student-led organization, we want to take the initiative and have most of it be on the students, but we also want to make sure our faculty advisor is there to mentor us and help us with certain logistics. So they can really be handy for you, and make sure just to have them in the loop in emails or in your meetings. Again, you can have them go over your slideshows, stuff like that. It makes them feel included, and that's important. Likewise, talk to your sponsoring Kiwanis Club. Kiwanis clubs are much more than a monetary donation here and there. Kiwanis clubs are some of the most incredible mentors I've had in my life. Some of them today feel like my grandparents. I love Kiwanis, and they really mean a lot to me. So please reach out, please attend their meetings, and make sure that they also feel included. And then educate your club on Key Club 101. There's going to be a section in here titled Key Club 101, and you can just take that once we send out this slideshow and share it with your members or incorporate it into your first Key Club meeting. And then give your club updates from the district. That includes district board meeting minutes, newsletters, campaigns, resources. We really have it all, and we really rely on you to share that information with your members. Also, set reasonable membership growth goals. I know I've probably said this like 10 times already, but membership is huge, and you're really going to want to emphasize this in your club and to your members and to your officers as president or vice president. So make sure they're reasonable and attainable. A lot of that, again, comes back to mentorship and the adults that are around you. Get their input. Do you think that increasing membership by 40 members is attainable based on the last 3 years or something like that? Asking those types of questions will really give you a sense for where you want your club to be and where your club can be in the next year. Plan how you want to do announcements and posters. If you want to really focus on the Instagram and like making digital graphics, that's going to be something you have to communicate to your editor, or you can do paper, stuff like that. You have to plan that out now. And then work with your ASB, talk to the PTA, plan joint service projects with other clubs at your high school. Some of you might have NHS or Rotary Club or some other clubs. It's really cool when members get to come together from both clubs or multiple clubs and do a service project. And that might also increase membership for you. And then make templates for agendas, PowerPoints. Make it easy on yourself after the first couple of them and have something that you can resort to each couple of weeks or each month. Keep a list of things to cover at each meeting as well, and make sure everything is concise and organized for yourself, for your officers, and for your members. With that said, I want to introduce Secretary May Ramick again to go over the secretary training. And presidents and vice presidents, please don't leave. Like I said, we're going to do some Key Club 101 and some fun general officer information. So please stick around even after your position has been trained. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Isabella. I'll be going through the duties of secretary. As secretary, you are responsible for collecting membership information and keeping that information organized and in a safe place. The data you should be collecting is membership information, meeting minutes, attendance, service hours for members and officers, as well as completing the secretary reports of the 5th of each month. Some tips and tricks to know is organization is key. The primary way you can be successful during your term is to know where information is being stored and how to utilize that information when it's needed. A great way the district board stays organized and how my home club chooses to stay organized is utilizing the Google Drives. Some ideas of folders you guys may create are for meeting minutes, secretary receipts, club informations, dues, and if applicable, committee folders. The most important thing to keep in mind is to find a way of staying organized that works for you, your officers, and advisors. Next slide. How do I access the MUC? Which is a very big thing because once due season gets around, the MUC can be very, very confusing. So alongside your club advisor and your club treasurer, you'll be responsible for accessing and adding members into the MUC. The video is roughly 7 minutes long, so for everyone's convenience, the slides will be shared after the OTC, and you may reference it during due season.
Hello, and thank you for watching.
All right. As secretary, or otherwise known as the point of contact for your respective club, when the school year begins, once again, you will need to collect the membership information, which will also help you complete the MUC when the time comes. Things you'll need to include are first and last names, grades for demographic purposes, phone numbers, email address, contact information, and if you want, an optional thing is birthdays. With that information, you can shout out birthdays, like birthdays of the month or half birthdays, and make your members feel more inclusive within your club. It's also just a nice gesture to show your members that you care about them. Some tips to keep in mind when collecting membership information is, again, utilizing Google Forms and transforming them into Google Sheets. If you're unsure how to do this, when you're in editing view, go to responses, and on the top right, it should say view in sheets, and it automatically turn it into a Google Sheet for you. Take advantage of club meetings. This is when you'll have members' attention and less chances that they'll forget about it or even lose access to the form. If you're able to implement some time during your meeting to complete the form, I'd highly recommend it. This is just something to consider since people like to procrastinate and it causes less stress for you officers. And lastly, ensuring that all officers have access to the form and the spreadsheets. It's important that we're keeping all our officers informed and in the loop, and they'll also be able to provide assistance when needed, as just some members prefer and feel more comfortable talking to another officer. And like we mentioned in earlier slides, stay organized. You can simply share this information with your other officers by putting it into your respective Google Drive. All right, now let's talk about attendance. Ensure you're taking notes of guests. This can be guest speakers, Kiwanis members, etc. Ensure you're tracking attendance for each event. Remember, when members do service events, they're not only representing your club, but also a reflection of you guys as officers. Have a hand or online sign-in sheet, whatever works best for your club. For online, you can use Google Spreadsheets or a QR code to a Google form or spreadsheet. Attendance is important for the club. If you're unable to attend, please communicate with your officer team and ensure one of the officers can step in to take attendance and notes in your place. So keeping record, make them, you don't have to make them electronic, or at least have a designated folder or binder that's in a safe place. I recommend if you do decide to do the in-person or handwritten option that you could most likely just keep it with your club advisor, or at least somewhere where everyone has access to it. This, of course, can also help you complete the secretary report when the time comes from the 1st to the 5th of each month. Next slide. And then likewise, with tracking hours is about the same. Take hours at all times, whether it is service projects, DCMs, fundraisers, etc. This will make your life so much easier when it's time to complete the secretary report. These I would highly recommend to keep electronic, as it is just a little more tedious since service events can happen during the weekends or during holidays. And of course, stay organized. You can do it by last name, grade, homeroom, whatever you think is best for your club and your school. So the secretary reports, why are they important? So they're the only official way for clubs to communicate directly with the district, or well, more importantly, like the executive officers. You guys, of course, have access to your LTGs whenever you need. It allows the district secretary or me to identify challenges that clubs are experiencing throughout the district. And this allows me to communicate with the executive committee and the district board committee on what resources that we need to provide for you guys to ensure that you guys are staying successful and your club is thriving. And of course, maintain a record that your club officers can use to reflect on its month's each progress. Now we're going to go over the secretary report. Oh, sorry, some more general information. Secretary reports, they're extremely important, due on the 5th of each month at 11:59 p.m. If you ever need to find or need access to the Google Form report, they can be found on the PNW Key Club website, the PNW Key Club Instagram, the monthly executive emails that we send to officers each month, the LTG newsletters, or you can always email me at secretary@pnwkeyclub.org if you ever need access to the report. So the Google Forms should always go to club officers, faculty advisors, Kiwanis advisors, Kiwanis secretary, and your lieutenant governor if you do have one. And just make sure when you're completing these reports that you put thought into your answers. Again, it is your only really contact with the district board, so ensure that you guys are being accurate and you're communicating with your other officers when you complete the report. Now we're going to go over the secretary report details. Now the secretaries have probably already completed a few reports already, but just in case you feel like you need some more clarification or on a few of the questions, this is your chance to not only write down any questions you may have, but to understand why each of these are valuable information for the district board. And like how Isabella said earlier, hold your questions because we'll have a little question Q&A period at the end. Any questions you may have to understand why each is valuable information, the district board, starting off with the club information, which is very self-explanatory. We have division, your name, school, sponsoring Kiwanis Club, meeting locations, and meeting times. So why do we ask for meeting location and time? This information is more for your LTG if you have one. This helps them schedule their club visits and to understand when they'll need to release information based on when you meet with your members. Next is the Seed Initiative District Project contributions. This information is valuable as it not only helps our district project committee figure out what resources they need to provide for you all to be successful for the term, but to also be able to set realistic goals for themselves, as well as for your LTGs to set for your clubs. So please, before submitting a report, check in with your officers, a lot of times mainly your president and your advisor, to ensure that this information is accurate, as we want to ensure that we can provide as much assistance to you guys as possible. So some things in the district project contribution is the project events related to the district project, total service hours dedicated towards the district project, total numbers of members involved, amount of funds donated directly to the district project, and amount of items donated, which can be food, clothing, or any miscellaneous items. Now reporting your club meetings. These are just short and concise summarizations of the meetings that you have with your club. You do not need to input any officer meetings into this section of the report. And if you'd like to submit those notes, that can be added into the miscellaneous section of the report. But so what you should be putting in the club meetings is the overview of each meeting held in a given month, the date, percentage of members present, number of Kiwanians present, and a brief description of the meetings. There's only 5, I think, sections for you to put in club meetings. If you have any more than that, you can always just email me that or put in the miscellaneous section. Then, if applicable, club committees. If your school does do committees, then this is where you can provide progress tracks for these groups. This is not only to hold them accountable, but also if wanted, we can provide you guys with feedback on how you can ensure that these committees are successful. But as always, if you want to have more guidance when leading your committees or how to run a committee, you can always contact any of the district's committee chairs who we will introduce during Key Club 101, so stay for that. But of course, feel free to always reach out to any of the execs and we'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Moving on, we have service projects. Please include the projects that you added on the DP section just because we want an accurate summarization of what you did for that entire month. So first, you're going to list all the service project information individually, then you'll input the total service hours in the next question. So when you list your service projects, you should list each project the club participated during the given month, the date of the project, how many members were involved, and total number of hours for that project only. Then we have the club finances. This is where we can see how the club is doing financially. We want to see how your club is doing in terms of finances to see how we can provide your clubs with resources to fundraise money for you and for big events like DCON. This can lead to things like the PNW grant that we offer that Jeffrey will go more into during, I think, the treasure section and Key Club 101. And as well, a new resource that Jeffrey created called the DFIT, which I think he might also talk about. I'm not too sure though. So this covers amount of money in club treasury, total number of dues paid members, fundraiser overview, which is formatted about the same way that you should report on meeting overviews. And lastly, we'll be just asking a question about your interest in PNWAF. Now we have the last 2 sections, the miscellaneous club details, which go over average percentage of members present at meetings, number of club officer meetings, communications with LTGs, PCM attendance or presidential council meeting attendance, DCM information or district council meeting, DCON 2025, similar to PNWAF. We just want to know about you and your club's interest in DCON 2025. Now, the last section is additional comments. This is where you'll add any concerns, questions, progress and accomplishments, notes, attachments, and any miscellaneous comments that you guys may have. And of course, if you guys still have any further questions that you may not get to ask or want any further detail about the secretary report at all, you can always email me at secretary@pnwkeyclub.org. And of course, if you'd like more support in your role, if the training doesn't feel safe for you, you will have, of course, access to the Secretary Resource Drive, which provides you with sample secretary notes, secretary reports, and a few documents and spreadsheets you may want to utilize during your term. I will now pass it back to District Treasurer Jeffrey Basile to talk about the role of treasurer. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm unmuted this time because I love to yap. But thank you, May. I will now be going over the responsibilities of a club treasurer. Starting off, you will be responsible for managing club finances. This includes working to plan any fundraisers, and the money raised from these fundraisers can be donated to the district projects, say for key club events such as Decon or Key Club Days, put forward for service projects or key club meetings. The list goes on how you can spend your money from fundraisers. But when it comes to fundraising, you need to make sure you are working with not only your club officers, but your members as well to generate ideas that appeal to your school and your community. For example, if your club likes food, then sell food, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Other than other than fundraising, transparency is key to the role of treasurer. When it comes to overlooking your finances, you should be updating the rest of the officer board and your faculty advisor with any new information regarding expenses or revenue intake. It is important to be checking in with your school bookkeeper or school treasurer or whoever handles the money at your school about updates on your club finances. Club treasurers should also have a full understanding of the club's financial status. And obviously, you can get that through either your school's bookkeeper or whoever manages that money. For example, like if your club is lacking funding, that should probably be a sign that you should host a fundraiser. So it is essential that you are analyzing your club's finances. It is also essential that you work with your secretary and faculty advisor to make sure that the MUC is working properly in your favor in order to submit dues in a timely manner. But May already kind of went through what the MUC is, but let me talk about how it applies to club treasurers. So what is the MUC? The MUC stands for the Membership Update Center. It's Key Club International's sort of like a membership database where it holds all the membership information. This is where dues are paid each fall and where your school's information is stored. The faculty advisor and secretary have access to the MUC. As a club treasurer, you do not have access to the MUC, so you need to be working with your secretary and faculty advisor. So be sure to check in with them and work with them to submit dues in the fall. The MUC opens for dues collection on October 1st. The early bird deadline is November 1st, and the regular dues deadline is December 1st. Those are a lot of dates. Oh, sorry. That's a lot of dates. I'm going to make sure I paste that information in the chat because I totally forgot to put it on the slides. So let me just put that in the chat right now. So remember, MUC opens for dues collection on October 1st. Early bird deadline is November 1st. Regular deadline is December 1st. And the MUC can be found by going to keyclub.org/MUC. Next, let's talk about what happens if your club dues are not paid before the December 1st deadline. If a club does not pay dues before February 1st, 2025, the club will be suspended and will no longer be in good standing with Key Club International. To become active again, the club must submit a membership roster along with the club's missing dues for at least 12 members. If a suspended club does not pay its dues before October 1st, 2025, the club will become inactive. This means the club will no longer receive resources from Key Club International. To become active again, the club must complete and submit the pension for reactivation form, which you can learn more about either through your LTG or through your area administrator, which we will learn more about in a second, along with the $100 reactivation fee and membership dues for at least 12 members. Now, let's talk a little bit about dues. So if you were a club officer last year, these numbers may look a tiny bit different. As of the 2024 Key Club International Convention, Key Club dues are now $15.50. Of that, $10 of the dues is for Key Club International, and $5.50 is for PNW Key Club. Your club can choose to charge in addition to the $15.50, in which that additional amount would go towards your club funds. Please see the link I have attached in the chat for more information about the dues amendment that was passed at the 2024 Key Club International Convention in Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, it's getting there. Trust. It's just pasting from my phone. Well, it'll be there. But now let's go over what your dues support. So for international dues, it sponsors and supports the Youth Opportunities Fund, international publications, the International Board, membership cards, and liability insurance. And for district dues, it sponsors PNWAF, the Espresso, District Board Travel and Meetings, Officer Resources, and www.pnwkeyclub.org. Make sure your members know how their dues are being reinvested in their membership experience and how your club is utilizing that money. And remember, members and clubs that do not pay dues cannot attend decon. I repeat, if you do not pay dues, no decon. Okay, perfect. So it is important to keep financial records throughout your term. Being transparent with your members about finances establishes trust among club members. Depending on your school, you may be required to create a budget for the club, and these financial records will keep you accountable in the case of financial mismanagement. The main document you should be creating is a club budget. And you should also make sure that you know your school's policy when it comes to handling money so that you can, use it in the way they want you to use it. So for example, at my school, one of the rules with handling money is that only a treasurer can handle the money. So you make sure that you just study up on your school's rules and regulations when it comes to handling money. Students, and well, just a general thing, students should not be keeping money in their possession. So when you host a fundraiser, don't take the money home. Be sure to have an adult, such as a faculty advisor, to give the money to. Similarly, be sure to count money in pairs and that both people know where the club's funds are being kept. Before I end, I would like to provide you with some information on some treasurer resources. The budgeting and expenses template, also known as a BET, is a spreadsheet that can be used to track monthly club expenses and fundraisers. It should primarily be used to keep finances organized and easy to read. Next, we have the DFIT, which May touched on a little bit. It stands for the Directory of Fundraising Ideas and Tips. This will be a resource for club treasurers to gain insight on fundraising ideas and tips to use throughout their term. Though, funny story, I don't have enough fundraising ideas myself to fill up the DFIT. So I am in desperate need of some fundraising ideas and tips from the district. So the DFIT at the moment is still being made, and I am in need of more submissions. So please fill out the DFIT survey. I will attach it in the chat when my chat starts working. But the exciting thing about it, if you fill out the DFIT, you get a chance to win a $10 Amazon gift card. Whoa, $10. Yeah, you should fill out the DFIT. But I'll insert it in the chat in a bit. But now we're going to be moving on to Key Club 101. Again, if you had any questions about the content I presented, I know some of you may have questions about the dues increase, then we can talk about it in the Q&A session later. But moving on to Key Club 101. Firstly, let's go over some Key Club structure. I like to think of it as like a pyramid where you have members as the foundation of our organization, because without our members, this organization would be nothing. On top of our members, we have the club. Each member belongs to a club, and each club can do their own meetings, service projects, and events. They also have their own officers. On top of the club, you have a division. Now there are multiple clubs within a division. So divisions are monitored by lieutenant governors who assist each club within their division. If you are a lieutenant governor, please open your cameras and say hello. Oh, LTGs, open your camera and say hello. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. If you don't know your LTG, then well, I hope all of you know your LTGs because they're probably emailing you like crazy. So yeah. Anyways, moving on from division, you have district. Districts are built by multiple divisions. For example, we are from the Pacific Northwest District, which consists of divisions across the PNW. Each district consists of the executive board members, such as myself, as well as the lieutenant governors. Lastly, at the very, 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 very top, we have the international level, which consists of the Key Club International president, vice president, and 11 trustees who govern over 33 districts across 38 countries. Whoa, Key Club International is Mr. Worldwide or something. But moving on, Kiwanis family. Now, that's just Key Club. Like, that's just the structure of Key Club. Next, let's talk about the different Kiwanis family relations. Similar to Key Club, you have K Kids and Builders Club. K Kids is meant to encourage elementary schoolers to participate in service at a young age, while Builders Club encourages middle schoolers to be an active member and leader within their community. Obviously, you all know what Key Club is, so I'm not going to say what that is. But next we have Circle K, which is the college level of Key Club, which focuses on how we can contribute and serve our community in the college level. Lastly, or next, we also have Action Club, which is a community service organization dedicated to giving those who are disabled the opportunity to serve their community. And lastly, we have our parent organization who looks over all of these youth programs, Kiwanis International. Think of it as the adult version of Key Club, where they not only uplift their communities, but uplift the youth and their future through mentorship and leadership. Now let's go over some Key Club lingo. So DCM, which you've probably heard May and Isabella talk about, stands for Divisional Council Meeting. These meetings are held by your respective lieutenant governors as a way to unite the clubs within your division. Some of these DCMs can consist of either bonding or service activities. Next, we have PCM, which Isabella touched on, which stands for Presidential Council Meeting. These meetings are also held by your LTG, but these meetings are primarily for the president or vice president or whoever officer within your club wants to go. But it can be open to anyone. Note, PCM is not only open to president, it can be open to anyone. Just saying. I love going to my LTG's PCMs, even though like I'm not required to be there. But PCMs are primarily dedicated so that you can receive news and information on things that are going on both the district and divisional level. Next, we have LTG. I hope you know what that is. That's Lieutenant Governor. I'm not going to go in depth about that. And next, we have DCON and ICON. So DCON stands for the District Convention, which is held on a yearly basis to unite all the divisions within a district. And ICON stands for the International Convention, which is also held on a yearly basis to unite all the districts within Key Club International. Lastly, we have INI and OUTI, which stands for incoming officers and outgoing officers. Another word for these two phrases would be predecessor and successor. Next, let's talk about some crucial Key Club partners you should get to know. First, we have Schoolhouse, which is an organization based around free tutoring. Schoolhouse provides a variety of courses ranging from academic tutoring to tutoring leadership skills and professional skills. To learn more about Schoolhouse, you can visit www.schoolhouse.world. I will paste all these links in the chat when I'm done talking. Obviously, my chat is not working right now, so but you'll get all these links when I'm done talking or when I'm done yapping. And next we have Erica's Lighthouse, an organization that promotes mental health resources as well as initiatives relating to educating and raising awareness about mental health issues. You can learn more about Erica's Lighthouse at www.ericaslighthouse.org. Next, let's talk about Key Club International's preferred charities. These are the organizations that Key Club recommends you donate to when fundraising. First, we have the Thirst Project, which centers around providing water and other essential resources to people in need across the globe. You can learn more about the Thirst Project at www.thirstproject.org. Lastly, we also have UNICEF, an organization that supports disadvantaged people of youth across the globe to ensure that they have access to resources to help them fulfill their utmost potential. You can learn more about UNICEF at www.unicef.org. Okay, so the next slide, I'm gonna try and make it more fun. As a district executive, I'm supposed to know all these things off the top of my head. And and when I was getting elected, I studied this content like crazy. So I'm gonna present this slide with my eyes closed. So the regions within the Pacific Northwest District of Key Club International consist of Alaska, British Columbia, Canada, Washington, the Panhandle of Idaho, Oregon, and Northern California. And we have 11,439 members spread across 279 clubs. Our district color is fuchsia pink, and our mascot is the iconic Mortimer Moose. And I always get it right. Okay.
No peeking, Jeffrey.
No peeking. Yeah, no peeking. Oh, no peeking. I wasn't peeking. I swear. I'm supposed to know that off the top of my head. Okay. More about the district board. So we have what the district board consists of. So what builds the PNW District Board. First, you have the Executive Committee, the Governor, Secretary, Treasurer, and Editor, which consists of me, Tessa, Isabella, and May. And then you have the committee chairs, which I will talk more and you will get to know in a second. And then you also have the Lieutenant Governors and or LTGs. The people that I wanted to touch on this slide, though, are the Kiwanis Area Administrators and District Administrators. Since you already know the executive team and the LTGs, and you will learn more about the committee chairs in a bit, let me explain what an area administrator or AA is. An area administrator is someone who looks over one or more divisions within the district. They serve as an adult liaison and resource for LTGs and your club. It is important to connect with and get to know your AA, as they will be an amazing resource to your club. You can find out who your area administrator is by visiting the link in the chat. The chat is still not working, so you'll get that link when I'm done yapping. So district committees. So LTGs who are chairs of these committees, I'm gonna ask that you do a little wave. You don't need to unmute and say hello, but just do a little wave just so that people can see you. And then I'll go ahead and like brief them a little bit about, what your committee does. So the 2024-2025 district committees consist of the Decon Committee, which centers around planning and executing Decon 2025. The District Project Committee, which monitors and supports the district project, which we will learn more about in the next few slides. The Kiwanis Family Relations Committee, which encourages clubs to connect with their corresponding Kiwanis clubs and other Kiwanis youth programs within their community. The Membership Growth and Reactivation Committee, which focuses on membership retention on the club, divisional, and district levels. The PNWAF Committee, also known as the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund, which monitors and promotes the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund, which you will also learn about in the next slide. And lastly, we have the Webmaster Chair, who looks over and edits the PNW Key Club website. Each of these committees consist of a committee chair, a committee secretary, 4 to 7 LTGs, and 2 to 3 area administrators. All committees are established at the beginning of the year as appointed by the district governor and are the main way that our districts accomplish its goals for the year. Now, before I end things off on my part, I want to go more in depth about what the PNWAF is, since hello, I'm the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund chair. So let's go more in depth about what the PNWAF is. The Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund is a grant application that gives clubs the opportunity to host service projects or fundraisers related to the district projects. Clubs can receive anywhere between $100 to $1,000 to help fund their supplies needed for the service project. They submit on their application. The PNWAF application will open on September 1st and will close on October 31st. More information about the PNWAF, as well as some grant-winning service projects, can be found on the PNWAF website at www.pnwkeyclub.org/PNWAF. I would also like to add that you can learn more about the PNWAF at our PNWAF webinar. I know I'm saying PNWAF a lot, but at our PNWAF webinar on September 12th at 7 p.m. Registration for the webinar can be found in the chat below. I will now pass it to District Governor Isabella to talk more about our district project.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Great job. I'm honored to talk about this year's district project. Each year, one district-wide service project is chosen by the governor for the district to pursue. For those of you who were an active member of Key Club last year, this might look familiar to you. This year's district project is the SEED, Support, Empower, Act, and Destigmatize Initiative, Ending Youth Houselessness. This year, it's our goal to elevate, to build on the foundation that the last committee set, and overall improve and make a high impact service opportunity for the district to pursue. Now, you might be wondering, why the SEED initiative? Well, let's go over some facts. Youth houselessness affects marginalized communities the most. For example, we see 120% higher risk for LGBTQIA+ members of becoming houseless after they come out. Another example would be the BIPOC youth have an 83% increased risk of becoming houseless compared to their white counterparts. Next, to move further into why we chose the SEED initiative, we should discuss how equitable it is. Youth houselessness is a widespread issue throughout the PNW, so there are many ways and places to volunteer for you and your club. And lastly, houselessness is both rural and urban, so no matter the geographical location, Key Clubbers can volunteer. Some goals we have for the district project this year is to raise $2,200 in monetary donations, as well as serve at least 11,000 hours dedicated to the district project alone. It is crucial that as a club, you are submitting your secretary reports as accurately and as timely as possible, as it gives us the information needed to track our goals. Our last slide for the district project covers what organizations you should consider volunteering with or donating to. Firstly, we have Youth Care. Youth Care works to house houseless youth and ensure that systems that oppress them are removed. You can both donate and find ways to volunteer in your community on their website at www.youthcare.org. I'll drop this link and the other links for other websites in the chat after I'm done speaking. Secondly, we have Northwest Harvest. The Northwest Harvest Coalition is a Washington-based nonprofit hunger relief agency that partners with organizations all throughout the Pacific Northwest. Again, you can learn more about their particular organization at www.northwestharvest.org. Lastly, for our Canadian Key Clubbers, we have Food Banks Canada. Food Banks Canada offers several national programs to help target food insecurity in Canada. Their network includes several food banks in British Columbia. You can learn more about Food Banks Canada at www.foodbankcanada.ca.
I got you with the links, Isabella.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jeffrey. And then to learn more about the resources available to your club, make sure to visit the PNW Key Club website at www.pnwkeyclub.org. There you can also sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter so that you can stay up to date with the latest PNW Key Club information. Please, please, please don't forget to follow us on Instagram at PNW Key Club. I will now pass it over to May Ramick to go over some general officer information.
All right. So let's start. We're first going to start off with talking about Save the Date, which is Key Club Days is coming up, as well as DCon 2025, March 20th to the 30th. So Key Club Day South, as you guys know, will be at Oaks Park on Friday, August 24th in Portland, Oregon, with their virtual event being hosted on August 23rd. And then Key Club Day North at Wild Waves, Friday, September 7th in Federal, Washington, with their virtual event being hosted on September 6th. And then, of course, DCon 2025, March 28th to 30th at Seattle, Washington in the Seattle Convention Center. All right, Kiwanis Family Relations. What can advisors offer your Key Club? First, they can offer you guys service opportunities. Advisors are the first connection your club will have to outside groups. They'll help you stay organized, promote, and execute community events. They'll also be the people you go to when you're looking for guidance, training, and support to officers. Your advisors have probably seen it all, especially if they've been involved or been an advisor with your Key Club for multiple years. They know what does and doesn't work, so trust what they say, and in the end, just always just take it to account when you consider different options or different events. And they also have very good connections within your own community. Kiwanians are a very well-connected group of people. If they aren't community or business leaders themselves, they definitely know people who are. So email etiquette. Of course, as secretary, I should know this. So when you guys are sending out emails to even fellow officers or to members, or especially when you're reaching out to different organizations, nonprofits, asking if they want partnership or service events, please do not use slang. Make sure your emails are staying concise and informative. Always check for spelling errors and proofread and attachments. If, of course, you ever feel like your email doesn't meet the email etiquette, you can, of course, have your advisor proofread it, or, of course, check in with your other officers to check if you think it meets standards. When you send out your email is also very important. We follow the 9 and 9 rule, just like when you guys received the email for the invitation for the executive OTC, I sent it out at 9 a.m. So if you're unsure what the 9 and 9 rule is, it's when you can only send out emails from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. This is because this is when people are most likely to check their emails. And of course, we don't want to disturb people when they're still sleeping. So the content that should be in your emails should be like reminders, updates, and don't forget your deadlines and dates. Of course, you want to keep people informed, and of course, make sure you keep your emails concise. Make sure you guys are also using your professional email address. Your professional email address. We do not want to see an email, or I don't think organizations want to see an email or take your email seriously if you're sending from an email that's like mylittlepony@gmail.com. I don't think they'll take that. They'll probably think it's spam. So, of course, you also want to make sure your email looks professional. So how to sign your email? You'll first have your name, your position, organization, and email. An example is provided below of our district governor, Isabella's, and how she signs her emails. Right. Like Isabella has been emphasizing, membership is important, increasing membership. So starting off your year is very important, as this is where first impressions are important. This is where your members will first see the club and see if they really want to commit the rest of their year with Key Club. So first, starting off with personal invitations, I think this is something that I really, really care about, especially with members who have been with Key Club for a while. So any returning members or people who were in Key Club last year, I think you guys should definitely reach out to them and send in personal invitations, inviting them to Key Club again to their first meeting. Show videos. Call to Convention is a very good video that you guys can use. If you guys have any of your own personal videos that you guys can edit, maybe you guys have time to create one over the summer if you guys want to show more representations of your club or just your division. Implement a bring a buddy system. Some people are just scared to go to a meeting just because they're by themselves. They don't know anyone. So make sure you guys let them know that they can always bring a friend with them. And then also just gain a good reputation in school. You're a volunteering student-led organization, guys. That's all we need. That's all we need to promote. Mix up meeting styles, like Isabella said. Keep your meetings interesting. Maybe not have always a PowerPoint presentation. Some things you can also use is Canva, and later on, Tessa will go on with different websites and applications you guys can use to make sure your PowerPoints are staying interesting. You should always have your agenda rundown so you keep your members informed on why they're at that meeting. Competitive games, active service projects, and of course, having some guest speakers or workshops. If you guys ever need help finding guest speakers, you can of course reach out to any of your LTGs or the executive board, and we could probably help you guys find a guest speaker from any of our sponsors or their organization partnerships, or you can also find one from your own local area. Advertising, service. Some members are only there for the service aspect, so promote all the different service projects you do. And this is when you can utilize your Instagram, and if applicable, your website. Also advertise using morning announcements and posters. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, think, does your club represent the demographics of your school? If not, reach out to student unions to collaborate on joint projects. So it's like some ideas can be BSU or Black Student Union, ASA, or any diversity clubs like that. Remember, collaboration is key. Equity, are there financial barriers keeping members from paying dues? Always make sure you communicate that with them. Make sure they're feeling comfortable. And of course, if they don't feel comfortable talking and communicating with another student, ensure that they can always communicate with the advisor or, of course, the school if they need. May there be transportation barriers keeping underclassmen from attending service or projects. This is something my school has been focusing a lot, is when being a leader, we want to meet the people at their level. So if your main demographic is underclassmen, maybe hosting more in-school service events may help them. Like what we do at my home club, we do a lot of campus cleanups, or we do service events at our meetings, and we do some things in the winter like blanket making and stuff like that. Inclusion, is everyone included and represented when planning meetings, and do all members participate in icebreakers? A lot of this you can, of course, just implement by having at the end maybe like a Google form talking about if they enjoyed the meeting, what they think that you officers can include in meetings. And of course, if icebreakers is something that's difficult, maybe having sorry, I'm like blanking on the words, but have them mix around. Let's make sure that they're meeting new people. If they're only just sticking around in one group, maybe they won't stick around as much once those friends start to fall out. So make sure that you guys are introducing them to new people and as well kind of guiding and facilitating conversation when needed. All right, and with that, Kiko 101 and officer information is completed, and we will now be moving on to the position of editor to Tessa Hill.
Okay, hi everyone. I'll formally introduce myself now. My name's Tessa Hill, and I am your district editor for this year. So we can get started with the training. So first off, hopefully for all of my editors and out there, you kind of already know what it is, but in 3 words, it's a promoter, photographer, and hence the name editor. So to start, Pacific Northwest does have a brand guide, which is useful as brand guides like create sets of rules that define the overall look and feel of the brand. So for example, if you saw a Nike logo or an Amazon logo, you would automatically know what it is. So that's kind of the goal with the Key Club logo. So as editors on the club level, you do not have to use the exact brand guide. You can definitely give it your own twist, but it's nice to stay, for the most part, on par with the brand guide. And so these are the 6 fonts. And then I recommend Century Gothic because a lot of programs I find don't support a lot of free programs don't support the other fonts. And so you'll see Century Gothic the most, and it's what I use and recommend. And then as for colors, these are not all the official colors of the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, the official color is fuchsia, which I love, but colors are nice because you can make things pop and stand out if used correctly. And I tend to correlate them with things. So for example, with the Go for Gold icon promotion, I use a lot of gold, and for Pinwaf, I use a lot of green, which you'll see. So yeah. And then just thinking about the color wheel, if you use colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, so like blue and orange and green and red, blue and or purple and yellow, it makes things pop and look a little bit more vibrant. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then for the logo, try not to do weird things to them. Keeping the logo consistent is the main way to keep the brand guide consistent. So don't cover them, don't crowd them, don't make their proportions odd or warp them, and don't combine logos like over the top or whatnot. And then a lot of graphics, such just the whole brand guide, can be found at this link, which after I'm done talking, I will put in the chat. It's just a Google Drive, but yeah. And then next, so as editors, you make newsletters each month for your club. So on the right is an example of one of our Lieutenant Governor's newsletter, Yan from Division 21, but that's actually an email format. I actually recommend Instagram now. That's what most editors I see do. But pretty much as bulletin editor, you should be sharing a monthly post that updates members on what happened at your Key Club over the past month. So I would recommend posting them at the end of the month, and to be about 5 to 10 slide recap. And so they should include cover pages and table of contents, member of the month if you want to spotlight someone and make it kind of special, president's letter, a month in review. Definitely include pictures. I recommend a lot of pictures. We'll talk about photography a little bit later. Upcoming events, fundraiser updates, officer contacts, articles, and you can have members write them. Just reach out and say, hey, do you want to write a little blurb for the Instagram, etc. And then photos, which again, we'll go into more later. So as for what you can use for newsletters, for the one I create, the Espresso, you can see it on the right, I use Issue. That's for a little bit bigger newsletter, but like I said, I do recommend Instagram just because it's simple. And then down there, the red newsletter, that's another example of an email one. But here are some programs that you can think about using. And then as for sharing them, I recommend sharing them on social media, emailing to your lieutenant governor, to your Kiwanians, because like we talked about, KFAM is such an important part of Key Club. So you want to make sure they kind of know what you're up to. Email them to your club advisors, to your members and officers, and then promote them to people just so they read them and can see what's going on. And they're good for promoting new members as well, so they can see what's going on. Okay, so now for the photographer part of editing. So as a club editor, you should also be the club photographer. And when attending events, you should try and take as many photos as possible of what is going on at that event, so you can use it to promote Key Club. And for example, in your newsletters, show everybody what's been going on. If you are unable to attend an event, it's important to ask somebody else to take some photos. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a few to make sure that you have enough to show people. And then you can create like a shared Google Drive or a Google Photos, and so that everybody can see and like combine their photos. And then always keep your camera handy. You do not need like a big fancy camera. You can just use your phone, but try to always have it on you at all times. And then always take photo. A group photo is good at Icon, for example. I took a lot of group photos. I tried to get as many people together as I could, but yeah. And then these are some things you can also on the right. This is Thirst Project. It's just a good social media example because if it has a bunch of doesn't only have infographics, but it also has photos from club projects, videos, and other multimedia content. For example, Instagram Reels. A lot of people like Instagram Reels. And then for deeming photos is good. You want to keep your feed looking professional and cute, so you can ask yourself these questions. Is it high resolution? Is it consistent with the rest of your theme? Does it directly show action or impact? Does it tell a story? Does it follow the rule of thirds? That's getting a little bit more into deeper photography, but that's just where like some things, there's thirds of a photo and some things on like the third closest to one side. It's kind of hard to explain, but you can look more into it if you'd like. And then do visual elements bring attention to one place? So this is all just things to think about when you're looking at like an Instagram feed. And then as for promotion, so one of your big roles as bulletin editor should be promoting your club in all the events, meetings, or fundraisers your club will hold. And you should also be promoting club events, but also divisional and district events, which this varies from club to club, but the bulletin editor can be the person sharing reminders about events and meetings on Instagram. Remind is a popular one, or any other program that you prefer. So you want to ensure that all of your members are informed of what's happening in your Key Club, usually through social media, or you could email, again, whatever you prefer. And then you should, as a bulletin editor, you should also be added to the District Bulletin Editor Google group so that you receive district materials from me to promote on the 16th of each month. And so speaking of that, if you haven't been receiving emails from me on the 16th of each month, please reach out to me at editor@pnwkeyclub.org. So I can get your email in that Google group. And then as for promoting, you can, this is a side note, you can always tag PNW Key Club in your posts on Instagram so we can see what is going on too. The more people you can reach, the better. And then if you know that your club is going to have a lot going on, I would consider creating an upload schedule for yourself, kind of looking ahead and planning out your posts so you don't get overwhelmed or anything all at once. And so, for example, I've been working on Key Club Day registration. So for Early Bird, we did like a 5-day countdown, and that's something you can think about. You can also think about how often are you wanting to post, what types of pictures do you want to post, and how can you maximize the number of people seeing your posts, so social media. And then if you want countdowns, you could try something like 1 month, 2 weeks, 3 days, 2 days, and 1 day, or post on your story every week or so. Just try not to overdo it. Okay, and now for the webmasters. So websites can be very beneficial for reasons such as, so club members can easily access new announcements and updates, easily accessible information over the internet, organizes all club resources and information into one platform, and it's easy for someone who is considering joining to just go hop on the website, see what's been going on, and gain more information. They are not necessarily needed for super small clubs. So for example, signs that you need a website could be if you have a large club and 100+ registered members, just makes it so they can go on there and see what's coming up. Might be more efficient than sending out emails to 100+ people or whatnot. And then, like I said, many times people cannot find what they need and people have a hard time keeping track of what is going on in the club. So those are all signs you might need a website. And then to start a website, there are a few platforms you can use. The current PNW website is Wix, but you can also try Weebly or WordPress. And then for content, I would recommend club news, calendar and sign up links, club updates and PowerPoints. Like the PNW has a lot of PowerPoints, especially for like the sponsorship toolkit. There's some PowerPoints in there, and those can be linked on the website. Resources and contacts, social media links, information about Key Club and your Kiwanis sponsors, and then fundraisers, events, and meeting ideas. And I would also recommend, as always, including photos. And then next, for managing your website, you want to make it user-friendly and engaging, and it's also important to keep it updated. So I would recommend adding to, like, making sure you're keeping track of what you're adding to the calendar and events page, and replacing outdated information with new information. So like I said, keeping it updated, which it takes time and practice. You might have to get into a little bit of a routine, but every site's a little bit different. You kind of just have to find what works best for you. And then what you can kind of think about from an outside point of view, what tools would make members want to use your website? So if you were looking at a website, what would you find engaging? What would you want to do? Types of stuff like that. And then here are some things to consider to make sure you're, like I said, able to update the website and keep it maintained. So do you have enough time to edit the website? It can definitely take up time. So if you do not update your website or cannot update your website on a regular basis, then it's highly unlikely that your members will see it as useful, because they'll go on there and the information won't be relevant. So that's a big one to think about. And then, do I have enough information to justify using the website? Will it be more than just kind of like a one-page thing? Can you be creative enough to add more components to the website as the time goes on? So just always thinking about what you can do to improve it and make it look better, more efficient. And then this one's a big one, is the time spent creating and maintaining the website. So does the input commensurate with what the club gets out of it, which is the output? So basically it's like, is it worth it to spend all the time making the website for the amount it's going to be used? And then we kind of talked about this before, but definitely consider creating an upload schedule to keep track of which website components need to be updated on a regular schedule. So like PowerPoints, the date for your next meeting, obviously that needs to be updated weekly, and event signups will probably have to be updated weekly and after each club meeting. Okay, and last, this goes for both editors and webmasters. This is just kind of like graphic design stuff. I wanted to give you all some of my personal thoughts on what I thought was like easy to use and their pros and cons. So Canva, I personally use Canva Pro a lot. I use a mix of that and Photoshop. It's very simple and easy to learn how to use, but the cons is that Canva Pro is expensive, and I found that once I started using Canva way more, regular Canva was not quite like sufficient for me. And so Canva Pro definitely is expensive, and it's not good for hand drawing. So if you make your own designs, it's not as good. Adobe Photoshop is good for manipulating and editing photos and design. But it is also, the whole Adobe suite is pretty expensive and tricky to learn how to use. So that's something to consider. And then Adobe Illustrator is really good for hand drawing designs and graphics, and it allows for manipulation of photos and designs as well. But the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator is that Illustrator is best for creating images, like drawing your own and creating them, while Photoshop is best for editing images. So like already made photos for editing those. And then last, Procreate. I like it. It's fantastic for hand drawing designs and graphics, and it's relatively easy to learn how to use. It is $13. That's just a one-time payment, and it's not for editing photos. So these are just my thoughts. You can kind of take them as you will and try out what you may like. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Tessa. So I am aware that we are at the 7:25 mark, and we are supposed to end at 7:30. But this is us officially, like, the meeting has not ended yet. We are still open to your questions if you have any, but if you have no questions, you are free to go. Thank you for coming. Reach out to us if you need anything. Remember why you were elected. I'm sure Isabella wants to speak on that a little bit. And attend all district and divisional events. We will email you like crazy. And stay connected by following us on social media. But Isabella, do you want to give some closing remarks before we move to Q&A?
Yes, absolutely. Even if you don't necessarily have a question, I do encourage you to stay around because somebody might ask a question and you might get an answer that you didn't know you needed. But yes, feel free to drop them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask. And then as for the remember why you were elected, Jeffrey's right. I do always like to speak on this because I think it's really, really important. I know for us as executives, we just met not so long ago, and I had all of us kind of look back at what we call a campaign flyer, so what we use to get elected into our positions. You might have something similar, or just go back and think about why you ran for the position you did, what promises you made to your members, and ultimately what impact you want to have on the community you serve, and how you plan to accomplish that. Um, Reflection is so important. You need to be doing that throughout the year. And I promise you, if you work hard, it will pay off. I believe I have full confidence in each and every one of you. I think you're going to do incredible things for your community, for your members, for your clubs. So thank you for attending, and please ask your questions.
You can either unmute or you can put your question in the chat, but I already see one question. I think Brady from Division 34 says, hi, are there any other methods that anyone has found to get people to come to Key Club and especially stay throughout the year? So I think they're touching on like membership retention, like stuff relating on that line. So May or Isabella?
Mhm. May is our exec liaison for our MGRC committee, so I'll have her talk first, and then I can add things.
Real quick, something you can always like reference that wasn't mentioned on this slide was that MGRC does have a link tree. So if you always need ideas for membership retention, that is a good resource for you guys. But some ways, some methods at least, is again releasing events regularly, service events regularly, and ensuring that you guys have that buddy system with service events. And then also just meeting them halfway by having service events that are accessible to everyone. So having events at school or just in the local community where it's like walking distance or at least with public transportation. That's something that's really good and you can consider. Also,
Yeah.
having some like incentives is also something that's very helpful. Maybe it can be like quarterly, whether it be just like a gift card or like a shout out, or something that we're gonna do at Key Club Days is pieing an exec at like on the face. Like, so those type of things really help keep members engaged and stay for the club throughout the year. Also, just promoting decon is something that's really good. That's something that's very popular with my club. We really promoted decon and showed like how fun and how useful it is not only for someone in Key Club, but just as a general leader as well. So just utilizing some of those, and I bet Isabella has more to add on to how you can, or just more methods on how for membership retention.
Well, I wanted you to kind of touch on the MGRC specific resources they have for clubs. Can you talk a little bit about like the toolkit and things like that that the committee has been working on?
Give me one moment. I'm also gonna pull up the link for you guys.
I have like a quick suggestion if that's okay, but something that I think works super well for my home club is that we have and you guys might already do this, but we have
I don't
She
hear.
freeze.
Yeah, I think she did freeze. So May, you can go ahead and continue.
Oh,
Oh,
Sorry.
Tessa, are you back?
did I cut out? My Wi-Fi went out for a sec.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. You can
You
continue.
froze.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I was, but basically we have snacks every meeting, and we have like pizza parties every so often, which is always like a big thing, and like a lot of people show up to that. So I feel like snacks can take a lot of people like that. But yeah.
Great advice. And I see May dropped the link. Please visit our MGRC link tree. I think they have so many resources in May. If you want to go into depth about some of them, for time's sake, I will just say that the link is there, so please utilize that. And that anything for membership. May, do you want to add anything about that?
Yep. So, of course, in once you click on the link tree, all the way in the bottom is the MGRC toolkit. That's where you're going to find everything. So in there, we'll have the personal invitations that you guys can create. Again, having that personal relationship with members really makes them feel included in the club. Also, just sending out feedback forms, making sure you're meeting them halfway and ensuring that you're meeting their needs. Because as a leader, yes, you're serving them, but also they are the whole thing that makes Key Club. So ensure that you're just listening to them and meeting their needs. There's also some recruitment flyers in there that you guys may reference, but of course you can also just communicate with your editor or communicate with Tessa if you want more references in terms of flyers. There's a membership guidebook that will give you more information on not only also the MUC, but how to keep membership retention. But there is a certain folder called Tips and Tricks. There we have linked the MGRC workshop that was presented at DCON 2024. And then there's also 5 ways to grow your club, first meeting tips, non-icebreaker meeting ideas, and stuff like that. So those are a few ways if you ever need information on how to keep members engaged throughout the year. And just for time's sake and to answer more of the questions that you guys have, always just reference that link tree. We can also add it into the email we send out when we send out the slides.
Yeah.
And yes, I was just going to touch on that question by Alex. Is there somewhere that the recording of this meeting or the slides presented would be available for later review? Yes, we will send a big email of the slides, the recording, and all the links that we sent in the chat. But sorry, Isabella, I think I cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah, I just for time's sake, we'll probably keep our answers on the briefer side. But I do see another question. I don't know if it's still happening, but my middle school renamed Builders Club to Next Gen Leaders last I knew. I want to reach out to them this school year again. Is it necessary for them to change their name? No, I haven't really heard too much about that. You can absolutely, we encourage you to reach out to other Kiwanis family branches, and even if they're not part of the Kiwanis family anymore and that's why they changed their name, still it's worth reaching out and trying to do service any way you can. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If an issue does arise, you can always let us know and I can connect you with some Builders Club adults like District Administrator for Builders Club, Lonnie Johnson. And then somebody had their hand up. Was it Chesley? Do you still have a question or?
Oh, yes. Hello. On the slideshow, it said that 2 officers or executives had to attend the Key Club International Convention, and I was wondering if that is required or if it's suggested.
So technically, it's more of a suggestion because obviously you have to pay to attend Icon. So it's dependent on whether or not you can fundraise and have registration paid for to attend. But for the betterment of the organization, we do ask that you do everything in your power to have 2 delegates attending the national convention in Orlando, Florida next year. Good question.
Okay. Thank you.
What other questions do we have?
These questions don't necessarily have to be about the officer trainings that we just did. It can be questions in general, about DCON, about MGRC, about whatever Key Club related stuff you may have.
Do you know how much DCON or ICON will be? Good question. So ICON, I mean, it hasn't been for ICON, especially it hasn't been pushed out yet, but probably around the range it was this year, maybe a little bit more since there'll be fun activities like Disneyland and stuff like that. So I would guess around 1,500. I know that's pretty pricey. Talk to your sponsoring Kiwanis clubs. Please start fundraising now so you can attend. But it's really, really worth it. I promise you that. And then DCON, is Thomas still on here? Thomas, are you on? I don't want to give the wrong price, but definitely registration will be out soon and that will be distributed so you can look at that. And then I do see another hand.
Yeah, I was wondering, so the PCM meetings, it said that one person is required to go, but I've never heard of any of those happening in my district. We haven't been told of any of those meetings, at least.
Okay, what's your division?
Division 78.
78. Okay, so 78 hasn't had a lieutenant governor appointed until very, very recently. I don't want to announce it, but your lieutenant governor is named Reese Bradbury. I can connect you with her. She is just new to the position, and she hasn't technically been appointed officially yet, but she will be in the next coming week. And then once we have her trained, she'll reach out to you and your clubs and get a PCM established. So yours is a special case just because your division hasn't had a lieutenant governor in a while and has been recently appointed.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I was wondering if many of Park Row's Key Club members can't afford to pay dues. Does the sponsor help us cover it? How we find a sponsor as we are starting out? Great question. First of all, Park Rose, I'm so excited for you guys in Portland. And I would talk to your lieutenant governor. I believe
Robert.
Robert, yeah. Okay, so Robert would be your lieutenant governor. So I know in that area, Kiwanis clubs aren't very prevalent, so that's usually Key Clubbers' go-to sponsor. But please try to fundraise. That's going to be my recommendation for you. As many fundraisers as you can host, whether that's selling ice cream during the summertime or whatever other fundraisers you want to do to gain profit for your club and save that in order to afford to pay for dues and for other things like that. Yeah, my recommendation is fundraising.
And I can't express this enough to the clubs who are doing like financially well because you know how to host a fundraiser, or like you just have a lot of fundraising ideas to give. Please fill out the form that I put in the chat. It's the DFIP form. I cannot express it enough. Please, this resource would be so helpful to club treasurers who are struggling to come up with fundraising ideas for their club. So please, 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 this resource will be amazing, but it can't be amazing without your input and support. So just wanted to put that in there since we were talking about fundraising. But
yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Feel free to use the chat or unmute. Thank you for the sweet messages. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I can't say so. We're so happy to do this. Yeah, if there's no other questions, again, you can always reach out to us. These slides will be shared with you. And in the very beginning, there's the All About Me slides. They have our contact information. So thank you so much for coming. And again, I have full confidence in all of you. You will do great things for your clubs. And I'm so impressed already. Thank
Isabella, May, Tessa, could you stay behind so that we feel just a tiny bit?
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.